Okay, that's fine. All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to newly titled Rapid Fire Golf with Eric Cogorno, episode 8. So we're live. We're rocking and rolling.
Let's test your audio back up at your mat.
So you guys, whenever you guys are ready, start rolling in. Let's talk. Good? 2 for 1. All right, cool. So the we changed the title of this here to Rapid Fire Golf because that's kind of what we're going here for, an hour-long show every Monday. I guess a show, YouTube show, every Monday at 5 o'clock with the idea of answering questions rapid fire. So I'm going to try and do a little bit of a better job kind of rolling through them quicker, but still hopefully getting demonstrations in. So yeah, fire away. We're going to roll through some questions I'll hit in the meantime, and let's chat. I appreciate you guys being here.
The rotation.
Oh, yes. Terrible job by me. We just launched our rotation masterclass. Hopefully you guys watched the YouTube video today. For those of you that are looking to rotate better, Mary's going to put the link to the class. I think it's ericcogorno.podia.com. ericcogornogolf.podia.com. She will put it in the link in the description. I'm going to include a little discount code in a couple minutes once we get kind of full up here for you guys. Don't buy it yet, but check it out for those of you that want to Johnny. Is that Johnny? Johnny B. What's up, dude? Mary was just talking, making fun of you. Mark, what's up? Nicholas, what's up? What's up, guys? Yeah, so I'm going to post a discount code for, I think we're going to do 50% off that rotation master. Ones on. Guys want more rotation? You guys have issues, other things, do get the other stuff. Look at the other stuff. But if you want more rotation, get that, or at least check that out. So, okay, I think we have a couple questions. We're going to rock and roll.
Yeah, can you see them, or do you need me to?
How long does it take? I want you to shoot my. I'll do the first one. How long does it take to realistically change a golf body downswing move? We actually literally just got done a couple minutes ago shooting a video on how to practice. So that'll kind of answer that when you watch that video. It really depends. It'll probably take weeks or months until it's completely subconscious on the golf course, but you should be able to make a change look how you want during one session. If you exaggerate enough, if you know what pieces you're doing, and if you give yourself feedback, I can make my swing look exactly how I want in one session. That's not going to stick. It's not there forever. That'll take weeks or months, but you should be able to do it right away if you're doing the right things. One of the things in the video we talk about oftentimes is a lot of you guys mistake the idea that you need a lot more reps than you do to get a swing change how you want. You should be able to look, make the swing look how you want, like pretty quick. And then for it to stick, it'll take some time. So that's kind of the deal. All right, let's roll through some.
Jim Gold's question is tough. He says, "Hi, Eric. Sounds like you're feeling better."
Yes, Jim, what's up? I do feel better.
It's so good. I have no questions other than how do I get younger? Love you.
Jim, what's up, dude? Hitting good. That's good news. You know, I think what is it? Age is undefeated, right? Father time is undefeated. So if we come up with something with that, man, we're in business. That's $1 million, $billion question. But happy to hear that you're hitting them good.
Well, that YouTube video is going in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Nicholas is asking, do you have a few drills for scooping and chicken wings?
Nicholas, so do I have any drills for scooping and chicken wings? I got a bunch. We did a video on how to fix the chicken wing that talked about for you to get out of this, add in lead arm supination and add in a glove or something under your arm to keep it on your pec. The deal there is you have to keep turning your chest. Most people chicken wing or flip because the face is too open, and then you chicken wing it or you flip it to square the face, and then you stop rotating and it goes like this. So get your club face in order. Make sure it's a little tilted down at last parallel. Get that thing a little bit forward. Throw something in here. Keep your chest turning and add a little arm supination. We have a video coming out on dynamic loft in a couple of weeks that'll talk about that. We did some videos on that if you search that.
Eduardo's saying, you're from Brazil.
Eduardo, welcome.
Mark, can you show me where left shoulder should be at impact?
Left shoulder at impact. So when I take my normal setup position, I'm going to have a little bit of tilt. With a wedge, I want almost none. With like a 6 or with like a 7 or 8 iron, I want like 2, 3, 4 degrees. With a driver, maybe 7 or 8. So it starts up from here. When I make a backswing, it goes down and in until I get to the top. I want a full 90-degree turn. Left shoulder goes down and in from here. From the top, it's going to go down and forward. By the time I get to about last parallel or just past last parallel, I want my shoulder to be back to square. From there to impact, my left shoulder is going to go up and back. Okay, so starts a little tilted, goes down and in, goes down and forward, should be close to parallel to the target by last parallel, and then my left shoulder goes up and back. How much up and back it goes is dependent on other factors, your swing direction, club face, release pattern, etc., being some of those things.
Michael's saying here from France.
Michael, what's up, man? Welcome.
Samuel McCormick, how do I use my legs to the best?
How do you, Sam, how do you use your legs best? So I'm assuming you mean during your downswing. The thing in terms of using your legs really is for rotation purposes and speed creation would be what I would say. If you watch good players in terms of rotating well and creating speed, they do a couple things in common with their legs. The first thing almost all of them do is from the top of the backswing, they reflex their legs. So they bend their legs more in transition than they did going back. There's some amount bent here. They bend them more. Usually, as a model, by the time you get back down to left arm parallel, your knees are back to square to the target. And then from there, once I'm back to square, then I'm going to start extending up and out. So it's reflexing early, extending up and out late. That's part of it. Of course, we also have internal and external rotation. Most good players from here are internally rotated with their left leg, and then they're externally rotated early, and then they extend up late. So I would say the reflexing and the external rotation of the left leg are probably the two biggest things commonized amongst good players. And then there's some other little micro pieces about how to grip the ground the best, the way your right foot works. I mean, we could go on for an hour and just that, but if you check some of our videos, search my name and leg work, you'll see some more information on that.
Frank is asking, same grip, strong, weak, neutral for chips and pitches.
Frank, so same grip for chips or pitches? No, I would have a weaker grip for chipping. You want your left hand and right hand weaker. So here's my full swing grip. Would be like this, left hand V, right hand V at my collarbone. If I were hitting a chip shot, I would have my grip more like this. So more of a weaker grip. I do that for a couple of reasons. Number one, I want the face more open for chipping, so I can use the bounce. The more the face is open for chipping, the more bounce you can use, which means more margin of error. I also want a weaker grip because I want my takeaway more up and out. I want to keep that plane line a little bit more out. And the weaker my grip, the easier it is to have more of an on-top takeaway. If I have a strong grip turned like this, the stronger my grip is, the more the club head wants to go inside and shut. The weaker my grip is, the more the club head wants to go up and out. We should do a video on that. Just dropped a little gold nugget bomb on you. The stronger your grip is, the more the club face is closing inside. And for chipping, closing inside during your backswing is a death move.
So say thanks, Frank, for the video idea.
Yeah, thank you for the video idea.
Courtney saying, man, help a brother out. You have me killing my tee shots, but I'm unable to hit a green from 120 and in. Everything feels really steep and the divots are pointing left most of the time.
This is Courtney. So driver good, wedge is not good, too steep and too left. So when in doubt, hopefully if you pay attention, when in doubt and you don't know what to fix, you should always do the opposite of what you're currently doing. So if you're too steep, what would be the opposite of too steep? Shallow. And what would be the opposite of left? Right. So if you're not hitting your things good and you're too steep, your low point is probably very, very narrow there at the bottom, some contact issues, some dynamic loft issue, probably distance control issues. You want to be more shallow and more to the right. How do you do that? No clue. Would have to see your swing. But one thing you could start to do would be try and get the club head and shaft working into the ball. I shouldn't say it. I do have a clue. Getting the club head and shaft working into the ball lower, more from the inside and more out to the right. Any of those shallow stations where we have the noodle in or the 10-4 station, stuff like that would work. That's usually a pretty easy fix when I'm working with someone in person. You just have to shift your swing direction more shallow to the right, like you're clipping the ball off the mat. So I'd watch the videos that are relative to that.
If I can read this right, if I'm translating this right, Nicholas, I think is saying that we need a Spanish translation videos that on YouTube that for people who speak Spanish.
Yeah,
so.
I think you can. Nico said about Spanish translations. I think you can do on here where you can get the languages translated. Like I think they have a thing on here where they do that automatically.
And that's only if I translated that right. So
yeah.
During warm-up yesterday, how to fix it?
Yeah, Shanks, how to fix it on the fly. That's a tough one because it could be a lot of different reasons why it's happening. What I would do on the fly would just put an object outside the ball. So I'd take my normal setup, grab a head cover, and pop this just outside the ball. This is a feedback source. Will be part number one. I'd go like this. And then I'd also feel like during the follow through, I'm ripping my hands as far left as possible. So object outside of the ball, rip the hands way left past impact would be what I would do short term without being able to see it.
Bradley's asking drills for consistent ball striking.
Bradley, drills for consistent ball striking. I can't answer that because it depends on what you're doing that's making you inconsistent. So I need something more specific than that. For you to be consistent, you got to fix what's making you inconsistent, and it really matters what's making you inconsistent. That's very different per person. So if you could give me a specific flaw, why are you inconsistent? Is it club face, swing direction, angle of attack, ball position, aim? I mean, there could be a million things.
I'll keep an eye out.
Yeah, if you want to put something more specific on there, I'd be happy to answer it for you.
Lynn's saying post-impact question. How can I get the shaft along the heel line when parallel? Always between my ball target line and toe line.
So shaft pass impact, how do you get it more to the left? If you're normally this way, more body rotation. So the primary thing that makes the shaft fork left on your heel line past impact is body rotation. That is, the more your body's open to the target, the easier it is to get it going left. If I try and get the shaft left and I stall my chest and my hips out, it's really difficult to get that over there, right? I can't, it's very hard to do. I'm going to throw it down the line more. So I would say get your body more open, and then it's really easy to get it to the left. You also got to watch during the downswing. If you get too dumped under early, you're going to go more to the right. If you early extend, you're going to go more to the right. So making sure you maintain some forward flexion and getting more turn will make it easier. Or throw a noodle in front of you, like we've done in videos, and have an object like here angled down that you need to swing underneath it. If you watch our Cure Your Hook for Good video, there's 3 drills, and then the last one is the one I would do if I wanted to get an exit more left. Put a shaft in front of you, you need to swing under.
Do you want to talk about rotation and the discount?
Yeah, so now that we're kind of full here in the rotation. The Rotation Masterclass just launched today. Everyone who's on here live right now, we're going to do a 50% off discount. If you go on the link Mary posted earlier, ericcogornogolf.podia.com, there's a discount code. It's live, all capitals, LIVE, live, 50% off that Rotation Masterclass that will be expired at the end of this live. So that'll be valid until 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 50% off. If you need more rotation, click it. If you want more rotation, you want to check that product out, live, 50% off will be available till the 6 o'clock.
Sam is saying any drills for those of us who have a grip that falls apart by the swing.
Say that one more time.
Any drills for those of us who have a grip that falls apart by the swing.
Yeah, you rephrase that. Who was that?
Sam.
Rephrase that question different way. When you say grip that falls apart by the swing, what do you mean? Does that mean your grip changes every swing, or like it slips on the club? What do you mean by that?
Michael's asking, what do you think of the bend in the air like Eamon Darcy in the backswing?
Michael, bend in the air. I don't even know what that means. I don't know who that is. I don't know who Eamon Darcy.
Eamon Darcy.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Okay. Third one, Storm. How can I hit the ball lower?
How can you hit the ball lower? There's 2 primary factors that are going to dictate how high or low you hit the ball. Number 1 and most important is dynamic loft. That is, the lower the loft, the lower the shot, the higher the loft, the higher the shot. That's part number 1. If you want to hit it lower, lower your dynamic loft. The second part is angle of attack. The more you hit down on a ball, the lower it launches. The more you hit up on a ball or level, the higher it launches. So if you want to hit it low, you want low dynamic loft, and you want to hit down more. How would you actually do that? I would start with ball position. I would take my normal ball position and I would shift it back some amount, okay? You could have the handle more forward. You can have more weight forward here. I would say in swing, I'm definitely trying to hit more down than normal. And you can play around with some wrist conditions, keeping your left wrist more bowed throughout the entire follow through, keeping your right wrist more bent throughout the entire follow through. Anything that's going to lower the dynamic loft, but less dynamic loft, hit more down, ball back, weight forward would be some things to start with at setup.
Steve is saying, just to thank you, more rotation means going to sign up for the free trial and send a video of my swing.
Steve, yeah, thanks, man. More rotation does mean more distance. More rotation means so many good things. Better club face control, more consistent golf. Across the board, you can measure that, man. Better golfers have more rotation. It is what it is. Not everyone on here is going to rotate like a tour star, but a couple degrees more probably means better golf. And I appreciate that. We'd love to see you over at Cogorno-Golf.com. And all you guys, 14-day free trial is still going up. Genuinely believe all of you would get better with that. If your options are doing it by yourself or doing it where I can see your swing, which I can with Cogorno-Golf.com on our Facebook group, for sure, you have a better chance of getting better that way. So we'd love to see you guys over there.
And what I was saying, what moment
Yep.
you begin to use your right hand before the impact?
At what moment do you begin using your right hand before impact? Well, technically, you're really using it the whole time and during the whole downswing. When I'm at the top of the swing, the right hand is bent back, something like this. As I begin down during my downswing, it stays bent back. There's going to be a little bit of supination, which means palm up towards the sky as I shallow. Still bent back and supinated. From here, so I'm here, bent back, normal. Bent back with a little bit of supination, palm slightly up. As I work down here, the palms kind of pointed straight across away from me, still bent back. Now from here through impact, I'm going to be slowly releasing some of this angle as I go. But again, that depends on where you're coming from. If you're someone who normally flips early, then you need to feel like you maintain this the entire time. There's going to be some pronation, right palm down towards the ground here, right? So here's supination, here's pronation. There's going to be right wrist bent back, right wrist bent back. I'm adding in some supination during the downswing. And of course, I'm losing my right wrist angle through impact. But again, the sooner you throw it, the more you need to feel like you would hold on to that. Not hold it and hold the face. You're still going to rotate your forearms to square the face. So hopefully that helps. Makes sense.
Jim Gold's giving me a little shout out.
Jim Gold?
Wants to see me on the other side of the camera.
Yeah.
We just had that conversation. When we get to 100,000 subscribers,
Yeah.
maybe I'll make it.
Yeah, one day.
Maybe. Ken, yesterday's player championship, can you go over Rorys Swing and his transition?
So can you go over Rory's swing and his transition? Rory's got a great swing. So he's got a very classic setup position. He hits all the main checkpoints, back of armpits, kneecaps, balls of the feet, butt of the clubs in line with the belt buckle, shoulders and arms straight line down. He's a little bit of a shorter guy in stature. So a lot of times shorter guys that I find have a little bit more of a flatter shoulder turn. So he really does a nice job during his backswing of getting depth. You know, that's the one thing to me that really stands out. When I talk about depth in the videos, when you watch good players, I usually see the butt of the club in line with the middle of the right foot towards the right heel. So anywhere between the middle of the foot and the right heel would be where the butt of the club is. He really gets deep behind him because he got an awesome turn. And then from there, he does a great job in transition of reflexing the knees, getting the club back in front of him. He does everything good, right? Like if you watch his swing and break down his mechanics, he does basically everything you would see amongst, in terms of commonalities amongst good players. We talk about all these things, the setup positions. He's very classic. His takeaway is very neutral. Sometimes he used to get a little bit more up and out like this. Takeaway is very neutral. Gets deep at the top. Good wrist conditions. Keeps his depth, reflexes, good rotation, beautiful release pattern, good extension. Like he just has beautiful swing. He makes some bonehead decisions, I think, when he goes and plays. And I think part of that's when he had his old caddy, JP, who was more experienced. I think that helped him more. He got his good buddy now. Has been caddying for him for a while. Not that that guy don't know what he's doing. I'm just saying, like, sometimes you have yes men around you and you need someone who's like, no, do it this way. And I think JP was more of that for him. I think his caddy now, some of them maybe lack of experience. He does make some decisions on the course that cost him too many shots for the level of player he is. So I'd love for him to improve that a little bit, but his mechanics, he's a phenomenal player. His mechanics are great.
Jonathan is saying, if I've been steep for several years, would shallowing create a feeling of hitting to right field closer to impact?
I've been steep for several years. Would shallowing feel like hitting the right field closer to impact? Yes, it would.
I don't know if this question or statement. Michael's saying, right before impact, I've noticed that all pros with their right shoulder closer to their right hip. You could draw a reverse C. The bill of the cap is lower to the ground with the head well behind. Yeah, so he's saying, Michael is saying he's seeing during the downswing the right shoulder closer to the right hip. You could draw C and the bill of the cap is lower. From the top, good players do a couple of things. One, they reflex their knees, which is why they lower. If I stood like this and just reflex my legs, I go down. So they are in left side bend, they reflex their knees, and they add right side bend. Okay, right side bend, like I said, is a right side crunch without your left hip going forward. A right side crunch without your left hip going forward, right side bend. See how that makes a little C there like that? Now, as I right side bend, notice what happens to my head. Where does it go? It goes back. Okay, so what you're seeing there is right side bend.
in combination with a leg flex, which makes their cap go down. That's what that actually is.
Larry, who's using his wife's YouTube account.
Yeah.
So the reason the best suggestion not to separate hands on backswing causing re-gripping.
So most people who, the question is about re-gripping the club and hands. Most people whose hands go apart, the idea is you want to keep your right hand palm pressed up against your left thumb. So that pressure point there when you start, the pressure between your right palm and your left thumb, that should remain constant during your entire swing. A lot of people that I see that have re-gripping problems stem from a lack of body turn. So a lot of people I see don't turn enough back during the backswing. And so what happens is they get short and narrow with their arms here like this, and they have some re-gripping problems compared to having more width. So try that out. Do some backswings. I would wonder if you have too narrow, right? So not enough turn here, and then the right arm gets too narrow, and they have some re-gripping problems. If you add a little bit of width, a lot of times that will go away, but really you're trying to keep the pressure point between your palm and your left thumb.
Just give everybody a shout out that some people they're entering their questions, but they're not appearing in English, and I can't translate.
Yeah, guys, if you put questions on here, if you could get them in English in some way, shape, or form, that's the only way we can read them. So that would help.
Rapid fire.
Yeah.
Mike's saying, following your recent instruction, now squaring thumb face and hitting iron solid, cannot manage to do this with the driver and fairway woods. Any further suggestions?
Yeah, so hitting iron's good, driver 3-wood not as good. I have nothing on paper that would lead me to explain that. I'd have to see exactly what you're doing that would create that. So that's hard to say like a blanket statement. I don't see that as a normal thing where like most people that I coach hit their irons good and 3-wood and driver poorly. So that's one of those unfortunate ones I think where I'd have to see your swing to help you.
Ned's asking, how do you hit harder? I don't know if that means faster.
Ned, how do you hit harder? Yeah, swing harder. Swing faster. I don't know. I mean, maybe ask that a different way in terms of what are you looking to get at? Like, how do you increase your club head speed, maybe?
Joe is saying, love your presentation video products. Are you planning any golf schools in the near future?
Joe, yeah, thanks, man. We are planning golf schools. I think we're going to launch our school list tomorrow, Tuesday, or by like the end of the week. So we're going to launch them out. We do some stuff with Performance Golf Zone, so we're going to do some stuff with them. I right now believe we're going to have like 1 to 2 schools a month from May through like October is the plan up here. And then we're still kind of working through our winter plans. Mary and I would like to figure something out in Florida over the winter. So maybe doing some schools down there too. But I'll put a notice out when we launch our school stuff, probably within like next like 2 weeks.
Shout out here too. Yeah. Any drills to stop the right elbow getting stuck behind the body on the downswing?
Any drills to stop the right elbow getting stuck behind the body on the downswing? Yes. I would say make sure it's not stuck behind your body during the backswing. A lot of times when the right arm gets stuck, when I say behind your body, you're looking at your seam line of your shirt, and you don't want your right elbow behind that. A lot of times when that happens, it happens because your right arm is too narrow. So when your right arm gets too narrow, it usually gets stuck this way. So you want to make sure you have width. So you're 90 degrees or more with your right arm at the top and on the way down. And then you want to talk about internal and external rotation. The more from the top that you're internally rotated this way, see how my elbow goes back when I do that? Now, if I externally rotate my elbow, what happens? My elbow goes in front, right? Here's internal, stuck behind me. Here's external, more in front. So 2 things you would want to check would be length of arm. You want more width, and you want more external rotation if you want to get your elbow more in front of your body. Now, of course, you could just do that with a smart ball. So all of that information that you could do, you could probably do almost all that with a Tour Striker smart ball, put it just underneath your elbows like this, and keep it in. And when you do that, it does what? Width and external rotation. So I would put a ball between your arms just underneath your elbow, and that should fix that up for you. Yeah.
Does Eric have any advice for takeaway that is very big, wide, and big chested?
Yeah, so the bigger your chest, like me, and the more muscles you have and wider you are, usually what happens is it's harder to get your lead arm across your chest. So when we make a backswing, to get depth would mean your left arm would be more in, right? The bigger your chest is, the harder it is for us to get our left arm across our pec because we have a pec to begin with. which means usually it's easier for your lead arm to go a little bit more up, a little bit more vertical. So most guys that are thicker, I would usually let them get their lead arm a little bit more up vertical like this compared to trying to force it around. Now with that, there's some things you got to watch out for and do, but I would say when you go back a little bit more up, I don't want the shaft to be very vertical with that because you're not gonna have as much time to shallow it. So I'd say a little bit more vertical to lead arm and get the shaft kind of laid off, a little more external rotation, and then you can just keep it back in front of you from there. Hitting balls in the toe, what could cause that? A bunch of things. Probably the most common thing I see is a too vertical of a vertical swing plane. So too much of a vertical swing plane, meaning at impact, when you come in, the more vertical, how many times am I going to say vertical drinking game? The more up this shaft is, the more likely you're going to hit on the toe. The lower this shaft is here like this. So the lower it is, less toe shots, the more vertical it is, because it literally pulls the mass of the club inward, you would hit more toe shots. So trying to get the shaft a little bit lower. You could also hit toe shots because you're too steep. You could hit toe shots because you're too shallow. You could hit toe shots because you're too close to the ball. You could hit toe shots because you're too away. You get the point. There's a lot of variables here that I have to see your swing, but the shaft angle would be probably one I would look at. And if you search my name and that, you'll see some swing plane videos on that.
Ray is saying you're a great advocate of feedback. What do you think of 4D motion?
Yeah, I love feedback because I think it's really the only way to consistently get better and not waste your time, right? If we're being honest with ourselves, how much time you spend practicing where like you don't really actually change your swing, it's foolish. 4D motion, I've not spent a bunch of time with, so I really can't comment on it. I love feedback in general, so if that gives good feedback, that's cool. For me, general 2D video gets the job done really well. I personally think 3D even sometimes gets a little bit overboard. But if 3D stuff helps you pick out minor details that you can't see on video, that's cool. But like, I think video works 99.9% of the time.
Rob is saying, which arm is more important in your swing? My trail arm feels like a passenger most times. Advice.
Rob, which arm is more important in your swing? Neither. Which one you should feel or work on would depend on you. I got some people that really feel a lot of left side stuff. I got some people that feel a lot of right side stuff. Neither one is more important. What may be important in your mind or from your perspective is going to be relative to your experience and what you currently do. So if you got a jacked up right arm when you go back, then probably feeling right arm stuff would help. You got a jacked up left arm, then left arm stuff would help. But neither one is right or wrong. That goes for everyone with all this stuff. Left side feels, right side feels. Neither one is correct or incorrect. I have people that do all kinds of stuff, and both of them can work.
Don't know the name here, but how do I fix the hose rockets? I think you'd have to
hosel rockets.
Hosel rockets.
Yeah. So how do you fix the hosel rockets, which is the Shanks? Yeah, I'd have to see what you're doing for sure. What I said earlier is like a quick fix thing would be something you could do, which would be object outside of the ball, like a head cover, like this, just outside of the ball, and then really trying to rip your hands left past impact. So I did some short ones, line up normal, miss the object, and then like really try and like rip your hands to the left. You might hit some toe shots. I hit that little toe, but it would fix your heel shots. If I saw your swing, I could tell you how to really fix it, but that's how I do it short term.
Sam's rephrasing that question from earlier. Any tips or drills for a grip where the butt of the club moves at the top of the swing? It never feels snug whilst the club is in motion and the butt of the club has moved by the end. Yeah, tips for the grip with the butt of the club moving. I think the grip moving, I would kind of refer back to what I said before about the right hand pressure point like that. That could also be that your grip size needs to be changed. Maybe your grips need to be wider or thicker or smaller, depending upon your hand size. That could be how you grip it. Where your actual club is in your hands could be in different spots. So I would check my grip, how you're actually gripping it, and watch grip videos playing that, and maybe get sized up by a fitter for the proper size grip. And I would go from there. Really difficult for me to offer some kind of general advice that I think would be really helpful for you on that. The best advice I would offer would be make sure you get a good grip and an actual size would fit you. Somebody saying, how do members of your site get access to the routine masterclass? It's a good point that if you are a member of the site.
Yep. So anyone who's a Cogorno-Golf.com, someone asked, how do you get access if you're a Cogorno-Golf.com member? Anyone who's a Cogorno-Golf.com member gets free access to all the masterclasses we do. We'll probably get them on the site like 30 to 60 days after we launch. But for now, the access code, which I'm not going to tell you, is on the Facebook group. For all members, there's a code that will give you access to it for free. It's in the Facebook group for Cogorno-Golf.com. I almost just said it there on their back.
I saw that happening. Well, you can tell them that they have their own code
Yeah, and you guys do that. So some of you guys that are hopping in now before that rotation masterclass did launch. Anyone who's on here now gets 50% off if you use the coupon code LIVE, LIVE, 50% off for another half hour. When this show ends, I'm going to take that off. So 50% off if you want to check that out, LIVE for the masterclass, ericogornogolf.pody.com.
On your drive, where at in your swing are your wrists breaking?
In your drive, where at in your swing are your wrists breaking? So really in any swing, when you say wrist breaking, I'm assuming you're meaning like hinging. So that's a tough one to answer. So I'm going to have to give you stock stuff. During your backswing, during the takeaway, there's going to be a soft hinge on your way up. At the top, by about left arm parallel, you should be pretty close at 90 degrees or just shy of 90. At the top, you'll be about 90. During the entire downswing, you're going to be steadily, slowly kind of unhinging that with your lead wrist to the point where at impact, your left wrist is still flat. And of course, so here would be 90-degree hinge. So you don't maintain that. Some people think you maintain this hinge forever. That doesn't happen. Okay, that gets unhinged here. So there's a little bit less angle. So it's kind of happening slowly and surely throughout the entire swing. I think that probably doesn't answer the question you want. So that's a tough one to kind of to answer, I think, without seeing your swing and maybe asking it a different way.
Keith Jones saying my left leg is bent at impact and I'm slightly flippy. Have you any drills for extension at impact, left leg / shoulder extension?
If your left leg is bending and you're flippy too much, there's a reason why that's happening. And if you don't fix that, you probably won't fix your leg and your flip action. Your left leg bending and your flip happening, you're not trying to do that consciously, correct? Right? So there's a reason why you're doing it. You need to find out what that is. I can't just say, hey, straighten your left leg, keep your left wrist bowed. That might fix it short term, but probably your club face is too open or you're too steep or something like that, where you're doing that as a compensation. So you have to figure out why you're doing that to really change that.
I'm not making any, gratuitous shout out, but a non-user is saying, can you say hi, Nick Gurr, please? He's your biggest fan.
Nick Gurr, what's up, man? Hello.
Chris is asking, how do you get more control of your wedges?
How do you get more control of your wedges? Practice them. If you mean wedges like around the greens or wedge distance control, if you mean wedge distance control from like 30 to 80, I have most of my players train that with swing lengths. If you search my name, and I think the video is called Surefire Wedge System, I talk about building a system from where your hands go from 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, all the way up. So you have a system where your hands are going the same length back and same length through. I like using one club most of the times, one speed, and just increasing swing length. So I would do it that way.
Patty is asking, how should the hand / wrist work in the takeaway when pitching from 40 plus yards?
How do the hands and wrists work in the takeaway for pitching from 40 plus yards? Not all that different than the normal swing. If I was doing a 40-yard pitch shot, ball would be in the middle of my stance, feet closer than normal. So it'd be some setup adjustments. So I'd go ball pretty much middle, feet closer, left foot flared, very minimal shaft lean. I'm trying to stay about 50-50 in my feet, maybe 60-40, neutral grip here like this. For me, 40 is hands to the pocket, hands to the pocket. I'm trying to make a backswing where there's not a ton of hinge, but not zero hinge. I come back down. There's only a very little bit of shaft lean, and I'm letting that release into my follow through. During the takeaway, the most important thing is that you keep your club head on or slightly outside plane. If you get too far inside or if your face gets too close, you're done. If you come too far inside like this, you're going to be too far inside. You don't have enough time to fix it. You're going to hit fats and thins. If your face is too shut, you're going to dig too much and be one-dimensional. So I would just make sure that your club head's on or outside your hands on the way back for the wedges. Yeah, David, thanks, man. Thank you.
Sean, shaft lean and impact, is it an effect of a proper swing or can it be practiced and learned?
Shaft lean and impact is an effect of a proper swing. Yes, it can be learned, and you can reverse engineer some of that. But like if your face is too open and I just give you drills to get your hands forward, you're going to either hit it to the right or learn how to really curl it under at the end, which is perfectly fine. But ultimately, to get shaft lean, you need a club face. I'm like a broken record on that because it's just true. It's like, hey, you want to lose weight? Good. Eat a little less, exercise more. Like those are just what it is, right? So if you want to get more shaft lean, you need a club face that's square, especially at that last parallel position like this, so that you can lean it forward. You have to have motivation. Every like kid that I have that has a strong grip, that's like super strong, where the face is so shut, they have a ton of shaft lean and a ton of rotation, like every single one of them. And why does that happen? Is that some kind of magical fluke, or is the fact that their club face is so square motivates them to have the handle forward and rotate so they don't hit it way left? The answer is the latter. Okay, so club face would be the most important part.
Not magic.
Not magic.
Ian's asking, should the trail arm start unfolding before the shaft gets to second parallel?
Should the trail arm start unfolding before the shaft gets to second parallel? Yes, it depends on who you're looking at. I would say for a stock model at the top, you want the right arm to be somewhere between 90 and like 120. I kind of like 90. A lot of guys will lengthen the right arm right away. So I'm not talking about like from here to here, okay, guys? Like from here, and then I'm gradually lengthening. So maybe I'm at 120 there, and then I'm at about here, and then I'm here. So some guys you'll see from the top will get more narrow in transition, maybe like a Gary Woodland model, something like that. I don't like that at all. I don't like more narrow in transition. Not Sergio. Sergio just lays it down. But some guys will get more narrow with this right away. And those are guys to me that are inconsistent. They have not as good distance control with their short irons. They might hit it really far because that can be a speed producer, but they could be all over the map because they're so narrow. They have a narrow bottom of the arc and it's more timing. I like more here like this and a little bit wider all the way. So if you watch Athletic Motion Golf video with Gears, and they'll talk about how the right arm will work, that'd be another channel that I would suggest checking out. So technically a little bit wider the whole way.
Speaking of other channels, I want to give a shout out to Chris Ryan and our
yeah, if you guys didn't see, we're going to do some more collaborations this year as part of our plan. We did one so far with Chris Ryan. We just put up the other day with the wrist video. It's the first one we did, so it's kind of like working through the details of it. I thought it turned out pretty cool. We talked about some stuff. I think they'll get better as we go when we kind of learn how they work together and actually physically can get with someone in person. Even though he was far away, but he was awesome. If you guys haven't checked out Chris Ryan Golf, check out his channel. He's been super cool. Probably do some more with him and want to do some more with other people. If you guys have some suggestions of people you'd like to see us do a collab with, just leave a comment down below with the names. Would love to get some more people on here.
Todd saying, how do I avoid lifting up versus making a full turn? I feel like I am making a turn, but the video shows me lifting completely up.
Todd, when you say lifting up versus turning, do you mean backswing or downswing? If you mean backswing when you go back, if you are lifting too much and too flat, a lot of times if you're getting too tall, most times your shoulder turns too flat. So for you to get a big turn and keep your kind of posture line there, you need more left side bend, which is a left side crunch. Okay. So from here, you need to feel like your left shoulder is going more down as you turn. So from here, you need to feel like your left shoulder is going more down as you turn compared to he would be too flat if you mean backswing.
Seth is asking, starting the ball left, is it more path or face angle?
Starting the ball left, is it more path or face? It could be either. It depends on what the ball does after you start it left. It really could be either one. It could be as simple as ball position. It could be path too far left. Could be face too closed. At the end of the day, if you're hitting it left, your face is pointed left. But depending upon where your path is at, it could be open or closed. So it could be both. I would fix that if you want to by putting a stick in front, like 3, 4, 5 paces, and learning how to start the ball to the right of it. Overly simplistic, but.
We got Denise on the line.
Yes.
Could you show me what the difference is, if any, on first/second parallel on pitching compared to first/second parallel on the main swing piece?
First and second parallel on chipping versus pitching, basically no different other than with the pitching, you need to have the club head even with or slightly outside your hands. With full swing, you can get away with a little bit inside because you have time to make up for it. With chipping and pitching, club head on or slightly outside the hands. Everything else would be basically the same thing.
Got Pookie on the line. Hey, Eric and Mary, when do you think someone should consider their skill level good enough to consider turning pro?
When do you think good enough to turn pro? Do you mean pro like me pro, like teaching golf, or pro like going to play on tour? Clarify that, and then I'll answer that. Pookie.
Yes, Eric, I am a small golfer, 5'5", standard golf clubs. Need to show the club sometimes to find the center of the club face. What would you recommend to do?
If you're 5'5" and have standard length clubs, I would just get the clubs refit, and that would be the simplest version. Would be go to someone, get the clubs cut down. Someone knows what they're doing that's going to cut down. Well, that'll stiffen the shaft, so I have to adjust the flex a little bit or tip it different. So I would get the clubs cut down. You know, like the easiest way would be to just get your equipment how it's supposed to be for you. Club fitting makes such a huge difference. So yeah, I would do that. If not, yeah, because even if you grip down, the club's still long, the weighting is going to be different. The shaft flex is going to be different. So That's maybe overly simplistic again, but that's what I would do. I think Pookie Sites just saw it. He said Tour Pro. So Tour, how good you need to be a Tour Pro? Way better than you think. So like, I would say if you're playing like a local course, you need to be like a +9 or 10 handicap. So like you're able to shoot 64, 65, 66 at your home course, like just kind of cruising, like nothing. Like if you shot 4 under, it's like, dude, I did nothing out there today. And you got to be able to shoot a 60 every once in a while. So like to go play on tour, like a PGA Tour player, you got to be the best player probably ever in your area. Like win every tournament that you play in. I mean, it's you got to be really good. So yeah, I mean, if you can be shooting 65 like literally all day at your home course and shooting 60 every once in a while, 67, then that's a conversation. Most people who think they're ready to go pro aren't even in the ballpark. That's kind of the reality of it.
David saying, hi, Eric, I commented on your video this morning. The problem I see is a strong left hand makes it harder to bow the left wrist, almost promotes cupping. Think about a strong left wrist at setup.
David, yeah, strong left wrist makes it harder to bow the left wrist, makes it easier to cup. That is correct. We've done a bunch of videos on that. If you search my name and grip and wrist conditions, I've talked at length in a bunch of them about the fact that with a stronger grip, it's okay to have a little bit of cup. You can still have the face square all the way through. With a weaker grip, you must have more of a flatter bow. With a neutral grip, still flat probably. The stronger your grip is, the more you can get away with cup and less forearm rotation. So that is correct. We've talked about that a couple times. Yeah, that's true.
So got a little break in the action that I see here.
Okay. Yeah. If you guys have any more questions, fire away, and we'll keep rolling. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. We. I don't know if some of you guys watched the rotation video that we did today. We did a couple videos that are going to come out now on like a little bit of a recap of what we were actually talking about. In that rotation masterclass is designed to be step-by-step learning. Some of you guys are going to want to do it just to learn, just to kind of watch the videos for entertainment. But those of you that want more rotation, the video we did today was on prerequisites. So when you're talking about adding body rotation and getting more open and I can't do it, or how do I do it? Almost always you're doing something that's not allowing you to rotate. And the things that I see the most common are just like everyone else sees. Number one, a lot of times the damn face gets too open. Like I say that all the time because that's what it is. I mean, very few of you are playing with like some people. I do some on my list. I see the face like super close, but a lot of times the face is too open and you have to stall to close it. That could be grip forms, wrist conditions, whatever. And a lot of times your swing direction's too far out here and your body wants to stall out to shallow it at the bottom. So if you really wanted to do everything you could to rotate, you would make sure your grip is strong enough. You would make sure your club face is square enough and you're shallow enough. If your club face is square and you're shallow, that's the most motivated your brain will be to get to the ball. If I need to get to a ball and my club head's way back here, I literally need to turn a lot just to get to the ball. If I'm coming and my club head's out here, I don't need to turn at all to get to that ball. From out here, I'm going to just shallow. I'm exaggerating, but from out here, I'm just going to shallow it like this. From in here, I can't just shallow it. I literally won't get to the ball. I have to have a lot of motivation to get there. So the prerequisite, this is like anything, guys, right? This shit isn't rocket science. You have to have the general fundamental stuff in play to get good. I don't have any secrets. No one has any secrets to how to do this stuff. You have fundamental things that will work, and you have to stack as many of those as possible. If you have a good grip, a good setup, a good backswing, a good initial downswing, are the odds of you rotating better than someone who is poor in any of those areas? Absolutely. I have a million different drills to do that can help and gain a feel, or especially short term. But if you want to actually change your mechanics over time, that's key. You have to have the fundamental stuff in there. You have any other questions?
Yeah, needless to say, I try to preset my wrist angle with forward press and takeaway.
Yeah.
But I struggle to keep them on plane at backswing. Should I bow later in the backswing?
Yeah, so saying that you kind of presetting it at impact and can't keep it. Yeah, I wouldn't preset it too much at impact, or at a setup rather. I would say at setup, most good players have the hands right on the inside part of the left thigh. Anything more forward, that's kind of obnoxious. I would go just inside of here. Make sure you're neutral, during takeaway, depending upon your grip at the point before. if your grip is neutral, you want to just be neutral here with your left wrist. And then as you work up to the top, you want it to be flat here, right? So once you're getting up here is when it's flat is cool. Even at the takeaway, if you're a little cupped here, so long as you're cool here and then you're cool in transition, then you're good. So I'd say later in your backswing and into the downswing, just because it's good at setup doesn't guarantee anything.
Everett's asking, any recommendations to correct flat backswing?
Any recommendations to correct flat backswing? Yes, go more steep. So again, with all these things, do the opposite of what you're currently doing. If you go back and the shaft gets too flat here or too flat here, meaning outside ball line, you need to feel like it goes more straight up and down. So I always do the drill, right, with the alignment rod, where if I'm trying to get my backswing neutral, here's the ball target line, right? Here's the little stick on the club. If you go too flat, that means when you go back, it's way outside of that line. You should feel like the butt of the club is like at your toe line here. So it's going to feel super steep. And when you do that and watch it, it'll probably be about normal. So feel like it's super steep, butt of the club down towards the ground, shaft super vertical. It really depends on why you're too flat. Most people are too flat because they have too much arm rotation. So too much forearm rotation, too much shoulder rotation, and too flat of a shoulder turn. It's usually one of those couple things. Too much forearm rotation, too much shoulder rotation, or too flat of a turn. So I would check those things. Have less forearm rotation, have less shoulder rotation, and have a steeper backswing turn to actually do it. That's something we got to talk about more as we go, is like the difference between forearm rotation and shoulder rotation. So some of you guys are going back and I'm like, yo, forearm. I'm like, no, that's not your forearm rotation is okay. You have too much shoulder rotation. So your internal rotation of your shoulder too much when you work back. So you have to feel like your left shoulder stays externally rotated. We'll do a video about that at some point in time, but that's the deal with that.
David Green saying, let's talk basic body alignment on course. Any good checkpoints for ensuring shoulders, forearms, hips, feet, all reasonable?
No, David, no, there's not. If you're thinking about all those things in the course, you're going off track right away. The only thing that I would say when you're on the course, you can't be thinking face, feet, knees, hips, shoulders, arms, etc. The goal would be with that, where you're going off, is you're not checking that enough in practice. So if you are checking that in practice enough, which how would you do that? You would lay sticks on the ground and you would be recording your swing and looking at it. You have to be recording your swing. Not that you don't do that, and if you're good in practice and you're checking it, what are you going to be on the course? You're going to be good. If you're not checking it when you're practicing it, it's going to go off in the course. And if you're diligent with your aim in practice, your feet might get different when you're on the course because your brain sees something different. But your shoulder, hip alignment, all that relative isn't going to like magically start to go different. So yeah, when you're on the course, I want you focusing on getting your club face lined up where you want by picking an intermediate target in front of you. So you're getting your club face square and you're getting your feet parallel to that. You should know what that feels like by practicing it in practice if you're off on that.
Jonathan's got a great question.
Okay.
As the prime time season approaches, what's your philosophy for making improvements while trying to still shoot good scores? Is there a happy medium?
So making improvements while shooting good scores. Yeah. So, a couple of things. One, we did that video on the perfect practice routine, which is a 100-ball set, which is my opinion on how you should practice. Within that 100-ball set, I said you should be doing a warm-up with wedges, part 1. You should be doing mechanics, part 2. You should be doing skills, part 3. And you should be doing course-like, part 4. It is in that course-like, part 4, 25-ball set, which is where you take your feels that you got from your mechanics practice and figure out which 1 or 2 things you're going to use to go play. How you know that is by doing that on the range and mimicking the course. That's full routine, switching club or distance every single time and switching target every single time. You'll find out very quickly that the feels you have with the 7-iron when you hit 20 in a row are different when you're doing that. No problem. Figure out what the 1 or 2 things are at the end that you're going to go play golf with, and that's what you go play with. You should very much be able to play well with swing changes. If you're not, you're getting overly mechanical on the course, and or you didn't do the 100-ball set like I recommended. You skipped the end part and you just did mechanics and you expected it to show up. That's what I always did. I just said, I'm going to practice my swing and then I'm going to expect it to show up. I always use the example. That's like me, driving my car in a parking lot and expecting to be really good on the road, like just different ball game. If you're practicing driving a car in a parking lot, you're going to get good at driving a car in a parking lot. Okay, so same thing applies with the swing changes. You have to have the end part of your practice where you're doing full routine, switching clubs. That's where the shit will pop up. The stuff that works in those scenarios to get the ball flight pattern you want will work on the course. And of course, there's little micro things of what your routine should be like, et cetera, et cetera. But that's how you take swing adjustments on the course. 1 or 2 things, have a really good pre-shot routine and practice it when you play. Practice it when you're practicing.
Brett is saying to yank down on the club and against my wrist cup, what he thrills or feels to stop pulling down. Yeah,
so from the top, if you when you yank down and your wrist gets cupped like this, feel the exact opposite. Feel like it stays up and you bow it. Okay, so you yank down and it cups. Feel like it stays up as your body goes and bow it, right? So when you feel like you bow it, when you yank down and cup, it's probably also going to be very hinged and steep. So when you go here like this, feel like it stays up and you bow it, and you might even feel like you unhinge it a little. So from here, not a big like this, okay, but some amount of unhinging as you're bowing it, you see that'll shallow it out, right? A lot of you guys, I talk about this all the time, you hate the idea of this, but if I just turn with it, oh, that looks really good, right? So you have to understand that some unhinging here, a unhinged wrist goes along with a flexed wrist. The way your anatomy works, the more you unhinge, ulnar deviate, goes along with left wrist flexion. The more you hinge up, radial deviate, goes along with cup. Try that. Put your left hand out in front of you and hinge it up as much as you can. You'll see your left wrist is cupped. Now, unhinge it as much as you can. What happens? It's more towards flat or bowed. The more you unhinge your left wrist, the easier it is to get flat. So those would be the feels I would start with. And or you could use a hanger, throw a hanger on there and do some drills with that. But you need to feel those sort of things.
David saying, help with being too across the line at the top from an overly cupped wrist. I try to bow the wrist at the top, but feel like no power from there, no torque. Need new source of power.
Yeah, so we would need to separate, does that feel like power? Is it actually power, or is that just a feel? Of course, when you feel like you hinge it a lot, it's going to feel like you have more speed. But if you keep, what's going to happen when you hinge it a lot, usually, and cup it, you're going to get steep and if you go across the line, good players from across the line use their body really well and shallow it out. A lot of people from across the line get too steep from there. And then what's going to happen is you're going to throw, and you're going to have too high of dynamic loft and hit it shorter anyway. So even though your hinge feels more speed, you're adding loft, it's going to go shorter anyway. We're going to sacrifice some of that hinge for dynamic loft. And even if your club head speed is lower, which I'm not even saying it's going to be, you're going to have a lower dynamic loft and be able to hit it farther. I would throw a hanger on or something similar to this for you. I'd start it on my left wrist. I'd go up to the top. I'd keep it on my left wrist here. If you go this way, you're going to feel different than what you feel here, and crank that thing down in transition and feel less hinge. It's perfectly fine. Steve Stricker.
Patty's making a comment here. I don't know if there's a question in here or not.
Yeah.
So promoting move with the hands, where they're encouraging a slight twist of the lead wrist on downswing away from the body, unscrewing and top to get more close to the face. Yeah, you can do that. So kind of the comment was from the top, some people feeling like a kind of a screwing action here of the left wrist to close the club face. I've got no problem with that. I think so long as when you do it, you don't do it and steepen the shaft. If you're going to twist this away, kind of reflex this here and shut the face, just make sure the club's coming inside as you do that and your body lines are good. And you can do that. I mean, the reality is good players have a bunch of lead arm supination during the downswing, not early. More from about here through. We've talked about that. And their lead wrist is going to depend on their grip, where the grip's at. They're going to be pretty flat. And they're going to be pretty flat and pretty flat. It depends on the player. Some players are more flat here and really arch it down late. Some players are more bowed at the top here and shut it early. And then they don't have to do it as much late. Like a Dustin Johnson or Bush Koepka is more arched here, club face more square. They don't have to do as much. Then you got guys that turn it down late a little bit. I mean, there's different ways to different ways to do it. Paul just got a comment. You're so right about the wrist. Yesterday at the range, I bowed the wrist more than usual. All of a sudden, contact, my rotation, and play the ball was so much better.
Yeah, Paul. Who is that? Paul Rogers?
Rogers, yeah.
The left wrist working better. I mean, so bowing the left wrist more, hitting it more solid on the flight. One thing that's always been true for me my whole life, no matter what's going on with my swing, is if for me, I feel like my left wrist is more bowed and supinating during my downswing, I hit it good. Like, it almost doesn't matter. Everything else is secondary. Now, it might not be optimal for me. There's other ways where I hit it more good, kind of more consistently. But if I'm hitting it really shitty, I can take my left wrist, bow it, and roll it, and hit it pretty solid. Because even if I'm too far in or really extended or whatever, I can still control the dynamic loft. So the wrist conditions are really important. A lot of you guys are so afraid to use your arms and hands because you think that's the like a quick fix or not the right way to do it. I got to use my body. Well, a lot of you guys aren't going to use your body like a PGA Tour player. We want to get closer. Some of you guys can. Some of you guys aren't going to be able to. You can use your arms and hands and play really good golf. I mean, I've shot 64 many times with like not good rotation and early extension. And like, if I'd have been looking at my swing at then, I'd been not too happy. Right foot up in the air, and I shot 8 under. Okay, so like it's not like you can't do it. There's more optimal ways than other, but it's not one or the other.
Your default move, understand on the range too, is doing
100%. I mean, I trained that in so much with Paul. It was freaking unbelievable.
If you could play this is Pookie again. If you could play a PGA Tour event course, what would you need to shoot from the pro tees to consider tour play? That's what everybody else is shooting.
Yeah, Pookie, one thing is if you're playing a PGA Tour course at their tees, you're shooting well above your normal. I always have a joke with my friends about what they would shoot. I got a bunch of friends who shoot between 90 and 100 at like a muni course with some mulligans, not putting out there. Like, they're pretty good. They can shoot 90 or 100, but whatever. And they think they could go to these courses guys play on and shoot about the same thing. And I'm starting to think like my one buddy, Chris, I was joking, like, dude, if you played Augusta, you would shoot 200, like literally 200 when you go play. It is such a different ball game. The length, the green speed, the undulation of the greens. When you go to a tour event, the way they have that course for that event is literally only like that for that weekend. Like, the members usually don't see it like that. It is so ridiculous how hard it is. The way they tuck the pins, the greens, the rough. I mean, an average player who shoots 85 at their local muni would shoot 115 at Augusta when they play at the Masters. That might be generous. My buddy shoots 95. I think he would shoot 200. So what I'm saying is when you go to those courses, a lot harder than you think. But if you want to go play pro golf, you need to be able to shoot in the mid 60s, sleeping at your local courses, like just casually 63.
So write us when you do.
Yeah, I mean, like I've shot 64 playing by myself, probably 10 times, not 10 or a dozen times, and like wasn't even like close to being at that level. So you got to be really good.
Do you like to take the club away more with the right hand or the left?
Do I like to take the club away more with the right hand or the left? Again, the right or left feels are very independent on the person. I don't particularly feel right or left hand feels. So yeah, for me, kind of either way. Some people I got really like right hand feels. Some people like left hand feels perfectly okay. The main goal is record it or give yourself feedback and make sure you're actually accomplishing the end goal you want to accomplish. You can feel that however you want.
I'm gonna skip one of Dave's questions. He's asking who are your teaching philosophy influences? There's so many trains of thought out there.
Who are my teaching philosophy influences? Train thoughts.
David.
Yeah. So my first one would be a guy that I took lessons from, grew up with, was Paul Viola, who teaches the course I work at now. I really learned a lot from him. In the beginning, he was doing stuff 15 years ago that is real popular now in terms of risk conditions, rotation, et cetera, et cetera. So from him a lot. I mean, obviously George Gankis over the past probably like 5 years or so has been pretty influential. Not so much like the information, because a lot of that stuff I've heard before, I've learned, but like the drills he uses or the way he does stuff, I think is cool. Morad was big when that first came out. When I was first studying a lot of that when that first came out. So guys that are surrounded by Morad when they first came out, Stack and Tilt when it first came out was very influential. I really, for the first like 6 or 7 years of coaching, like studied a lot and watched a lot of videos and went to go travel and watch a lot of people teach. I mean, like 24/7. So I pretty much read or saw like a lot that was going on from that time frame. And so there's so many guys and gals that have been influential. But I would say those are probably the top couple. But there's so much stuff that's studied even outside the golf industry that I think has helped a lot about how the brain works and how the human body works, anatomy and stuff like that. But probably Mac O'Grady, Morad, Paul, and George would be like the top guys if I had to say. Yeah, short game people. I mean, David Orr down in North Carolina is the best putting coach I've ever seen. So I watch his stuff all the time, even now to this day. James Seekman completely revolutionized my short game with the ideas of using the bounce. I heard him talk maybe like 7 years ago. about the bounce, and I was like, dude, it completely changed my life. So James Seekman for chipping, David Orr for putting has been really cool.
Aaron saying no issues shutting the face, straight shots, but consistently steep, not bad. Drill to work on getting a cleaner strike. Sometimes works if I feel like I stay behind the ball.
Yeah, so if you're too steep, that could be because of that, because your upper body goes too far forward and you get steep. So you might have to feel like you add some more right side bend as you rotate, or any of our shallowing drills, any of the drills with the noodle behind. If you search my name in shallow, you'll see a lot of different drills with sticks in at various conditions behind the ball. I like that a lot as a feedback source, but if your upper body goes too far forward, you're going to probably be too steep. So feeling like you keep your head back, add right side bend as you rotate would be a good idea. Well, I think we're about an hour here. So we'll take like one more, maybe two more questions. That link for the rotation masterclass, LiVE, 50% off. The code is live, LiVE. As soon as I shut this down, I'm going to go on there and take that off. So you have a couple of seconds left, or maybe a minute or two. We'll do like one more question. But if you want that rotation masterclass, the link's up above. It's ericogornogolf.podia.com. 50% off, coupon code live for the next like 3 minutes. Okay, so like 1, 2 more.
More comments and questions, really.
Okay.
Somebody said I played with a guy who had a 9 handicap in a stable swing. He shot 18 over on Augusta and was very pleased with that. You're right, those courses are hard.
Yeah, he has a 9 handicap. He shot 18 over. That's incredible. That's incredible job. Yeah, I mean, most 9 handicaps would shoot way more than that. So I wonder if he played the ball down, played the actual tees, and if the greens were anything like they were when they actually played. That's another thing to keep in mind. Yeah.
Make this the last question. Heavier club make my swing more consistent.
Fast swing speed, heavier club. Yeah, I mean, a lot of guys with faster swing speeds use a heavier driver. We just went down to Club Champion, did a driver fitting not long ago, and he changed the weight in my club head quite a bit and added some weight. And I actually like the way it felt better. So it could. You have to test it though. I mean, club fitting is one of those things where there's a lot of things that like on paper are supposed to be right, but when you actually play around with them, it could be drastically different. So yeah, I mean, you got to go. I would go get fit and then just actually see. But it definitely could. I don't know if it'll be a magic bullet, but it definitely could. Definitely shaft flex will play a big role. The faster your speed is, how you tip the shaft, the weighting, where you put the stiffness, more in the grip or more down at the bottom. There's a lot of different variables in there. So yeah, I would just check that. So that's it, guys. We are going to close it up here. It's been an hour. I appreciate you guys being here one more time. That rotation masterclass, LiVE is the discount code if you guys want to grab that. And we'll be back next Monday for more rapid fire. So thank you guys and have a good night.